it's so deep rooted for me, because I think also it's just like you're good at something and then you're like, I think you just wonder, like, can I be good at that too? You know, and it doesn't end there. I think it's always just like very self-focused and self-driven. Who cares about the chaos in the background, right? It's like, no, I'm doing this for me because I'm genuinely curious, and I don't want to end my career with like a what if. You know, I want to end my career with like a, well, I tried, or like I did everything I could.
And welcome back. We have Jenn Lichter joining us on the podcast today. Jenn, thanks so much for taking some time to chat.
Yes, thanks for inviting me.
I never thought I'd have a beer mile champion on this podcast, but here we are.
Yeah, it was very painful. I don't know. I've done one more since then. And every time I'm like, it's fun because of the social aspect of it, but you just feel so bad. You just feel so bad.
So we're talking about the beer mile that was done in between Broken Arrow and Western States. But you are not a beer mile specialist. You are a trail running specialist. So the first question of this podcast is always a tough one, and that question is, who is Jenn?
Who is Jenn? I mean, like you said, I'm a trail runner. But you know, some other aspects that make me is I love art. So I'm a big artist. Art is kind of like my first true love in terms of just like identity, I guess you could say. I also love baking and cooking. I love gardening. I love doing a lot of DIY stuff. I don't know. I'm a pretty quirky person. I feel like there's a lot of little things that make Jenn, I guess. But yeah, I feel like those are kind of like the main things. Yeah.
Cool. And how did running enter your life?
So running entered my life in high school. I started out as like a basketball player, and I'm only 5'2", so after a while, you know, that dream had to fade.
You hit your ceiling there, as
I
they
hit
say.
my ceiling, yeah. Everyone grew, and I just kind of stayed the same. I've been like the same height since, I swear, 7th grade. And yeah, so
really tall
I was
back then.
Oh my goodness, yes. And yeah, so cross country was kind of this other option that, you know, I'd heard about. And I think it was honestly my mom who was like, just try this out. I think you might like it. And I just remember going out on the first day of practice, and, you know, I wouldn't say like running was like, oh my God, like this is it. It was like so uncomfortable and so painful. And I was like, how do people like this? It wasn't like a first love kind of feeling with running, for sure. It's not like the fairy tale that you hear so often. It was like, oh, like this is very hard. But you know, having said that, I'm going back to what makes me is I love challenges. And so I remember thinking, okay, well, like, I think it will get better. You know, like I haven't run, like, I think we did like 2 miles that day. And I was like, okay, I've never done this and I could do it. Right. And so, I just kept at it, you know, mostly for social reasons, and also for like the challenge of it, of like not giving up on something that I started. And then just quickly, like learn to slowly love it. And yeah, this was 7th grade. And then, ran through high school, ran through college, went through a period there in high school where, it became a little bit self-destructive. So, you know, like it became more about like thinner, faster kind of thing, you know, like the thing that you go with like eating disorders in many runners is pretty common, or like that relationship with food gets a little tricky. And just like the narrative, you know, that is changing, but back then it was pretty much like the lighter, the better, the faster. And you saw like all these runners looked a certain way and you thought, oh, I have to look like that to be fast. So I feel like, yeah, my relationship with running has been very much a roller coaster, of a journey, but I've, you know, since basically I graduated college in 2019, it's taken a turn into a more like loving and confident and more about adventure and getting outdoors kind of, I guess, hobby more like. And I think in a way that's kind of what fueled, my love and drive now for trail running and the competitiveness of it. Because when I first started trail running, I wasn't, like trying to like compete or race. It was like me running through the mountains of Glacier National Park on my off days because I was a hiking guide there. And so once I started trail racing at the end of 2021, I did the Rut. That was like my first really big trail race. And that was kind of like where Esther from the North Face kind of quote unquote discovered me at that race. And then I signed that year in 2022. So yeah.
Did you ever envision that like you'd be running professionally when you first started in middle school? Like, was that something you ever dreamt about, or was it really just a way to like process everything that was going on? And like, how did you think about that?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Like I said, with running, I never thought that I would be professional. Like that was just, it wasn't like my dream. Some girls that are like now, like pro runners, it was like their dream, right? Like they started running at like 2 or 3 years old, and it was like what they knew and like what they knew they were good at and what they knew they were like meant to do. So for me, running, even with like high school, I didn't think I would be running in college. And then once the options started showing up, I was like, okay, like that actually sounds fun. And so I think in a way, running kind of pushed into my life slowly and slowly in every phase of it. Where I tried to let go, it would always come back in some way. And definitely with trail running, like never, even in college, and never in a million years, I would have thought that I'd be a professional trail runner. And I, like, it's not like I didn't trail run before in my life. Like I said, high school was more social aspect, and my coach did a great job at keeping it fun for us kids. And so a lot of our training was through the trails in Hickson Forest. So I grew up in La Crosse, Wisconsin, this really small little town/city. But yeah, like for cross country and track, he did a lot of training through the trails. And so that's kind of like what I was introduced into when I first started this running journey in 7th grade. And I didn't really think much of it. It was just kind of like my norm. Like, oh, for running, trails are a big part of it, whether it's like on the track or on the road. And I didn't know trail running competitions were a thing until I did the Rut, essentially. And then it was just like this whole new world opened up about like, oh my goodness, this is like a thing. This is like a community. This is like big, and now it's even bigger. Like even just from when I entered in 2022, it's completely like, I feel like doubled in popularity. Yeah.
With running, has there been an aspect of like control and the ability to choose discomfort compared to some of what you've experienced earlier in life where it was a little out of your control or a lot out of your control, and running gives you that like on off switch?
100%. And when I said, running for me was like at first pretty much self-destructive, it was because it felt like it was the first thing in my life that I could control. Like I could control how much I trained. I can control my effort. I can control what I put in my body, how I use my body. And it just felt like the first thing in my life where I was like, oh, the decisions that I make are solely my own. And, for those of you who don't know, like, I grew up in Bogota, Colombia, grew up in an orphanage, was adopted at 9 years old. And so there was a lot of mystery and untangling for me to do once I grew up and trying to figure out like those first 9 years of my life. And I think running in a way was that therapy for me, was that like figuring it out, despite it being a bit self-destructive at first with underfueling my body and getting a bit obsessive with running, despite knowing that I was doing it for the wrong reasons. Like I remember when I was going through like my eating disorder, like there would be like no running and I would sneak at like 2 a.m. to go for a run. Like it was that bad. It was like my brain was like in such a different unhealthy like way, and it was just now looking forward, it's like, oh, that's kind of what undernourishing yourself does. It like you can't think straight. And I remember the first part of like my recovery was like putting weight on, so that my brain can think. Like, people don't realize how nutrition doesn't only just like affect your body, but it affects your ability to think and like make decisions and like see points of views in like a more, I guess, appropriate or adult way, or mature way. So
Yeah, it's fascinating, that element of control, and like you've been able to hone that, and like you've won some really hard races. Broken Arrow this year, the 46K, you were first, and then followed it up with an incredible performance in that in the beer mile later that week. But talk to me about more of that, like how do you manifest that element of I'm all in on this suffering for the next couple of hours, right? Like I think a lot of us are like try to figure out how to suffer better or how to deal with the discomfort that exists in a race so that we can finish in a manner we're proud of. Like I've dealt with an inability to do that and an inability to keep my foot on the pedal when things get hard at times, and that's why I'm not a professional athlete, let alone the aerobic component that I don't have at that same level. But like, what goes into your head when you're standing on the start line of a race like a Broken Arrow where it's going to be hard from the gun? Like, how do you think about, I'm choosing this, I'm all in, and this is going to hurt?
Yeah, I think part of it too is honoring my past self. So, and what do I mean by that? I mean, like, I think about like all the months, hours, like weeks, days of hard work that I've done to prepare for this race. And, like, I'm such a competitive person that for me on the start line, it's like, okay, I didn't just waste my time in and out, run by run, mile by mile, fatigue by fatigue, like to just like not put it all out there on the course. And so for me, it's like when things get tough, it's like, okay, think of back to like a really, really hard workout. How did you like practice handling that fatigue? And so like there were moments in Broken Arrow and even in Speed Goat where I was like so tired, and I was just like, I just go back to like, okay, I felt this way like on a double after a really big workout that morning, right? Like, and on that double, I remember thinking, I can get through this. And you're going to feel this way in a race. And so it's also like practicing that fatigue and that feeling, how you're going to react to it in practice as well. So yeah, I think it's just a mixture of like, honoring my past self, thanking my future self for like honoring like all the hard work that I put months and days into. Time is money, right? Like right. It's you don't get days back, you don't get hours back. And then at the same time, it's like practicing what you practiced every day. And then also I think there's just like this inner animal in me that just really likes to win. And I think that's okay to admit, and maybe that's also one of the drivers of like why I just go to like the well on race day. It's like, everyone loves to win. Like there's nothing quite like it. And so I think it's like the mix of those three things that, and it doesn't mean I'm going to win all the time, but like the one thing I can do is try. It's just like, try to do my best and never give myself an excuse to like not push. So yeah, I feel like that's kind of like what my mindset is on race day. It's like, I've done everything and now all I can do is celebrate and see what I can do with all the hard work I've done.
You said something there that reminded me of where my head was at in the last race I did, which was overwhelming success. I did a 40-mile race from Crested Butte to Aspen, and that's the longest distance I've raced. And what I thought about when it got hard was exactly what you said, all the work that I've done, but specifically a very hard hill workout that I did. And in that hill workout, it was 5 by 3 minutes followed by a tempo. The 5 by 3 minutes used to be the hardest workout that my coach David ever gave me in a block. And then in this training block, he gave me a tempo, like a 20-minute tempo afterwards. And so I on that day, I thought about how cool it was that the thing that used to be the hardest thing he'd give me all year now had something added to it. And so then I'm, 25, 30 miles into a race thinking about that hardest thing that I ever did, plus, another 40% on top of it. And to reflect on, wow, look at all that progress. Look at all the work that I put in, all those reps up Mariposa here in Boulder, like a half-mile long hill. Like, I just thought about the fact that I ran up that hill probably 30 times in training. And it was a really poignant reminder of like, well, I've done the work to feel good at 12,000 feet. Let's let it rip. And it's like a really cool tactic to deploy, particularly late in a race when you're starting to think like, hey, I'm tired, because it's reasonable to be tired. But getting back to like all those reps and all the runs and miles that led you to that point is a really strong driver of how to keep moving forward.
100%. Yeah. And it's just like, that's why we practice, right? It's like we practice so that we can make mistakes and then fix those mistakes so that when race day comes, we're able to like get through it, and I'm sure you were like, well, I got through that, so I can get through this, right? So I know, I think it's also like building on that confidence and like telling yourself on race day, like, heck yeah, I did that. And why not this too?
Yeah, I finished the race and my friend Zoe was at the finish line. She's like, now you can do 50 miles because you just did 40. And
Yes.
I didn't know that I could do 40. And so then I did 40 and now I believe that I'm capable of doing 50. So it's just really cool how we can retrain our minds to understand what's possible. I was finishing a run yesterday and having a pretty similar thought around, like, I was just doing an 8-mile run on a Thursday morning, and like, that's a long run for people who are just starting running. But for me at this point in my training, like 8 to 10 miles on a weekday is like, that's just Tuesday or that's just Thursday. So it's really cool to reflect on that type of progress and the like constant reshuffling of like what is normal and what is hard.
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
Okay, so you ran the rut. It opened your eyes to all of these amazing things. What happened next after you ran that race?
So that was in 2021, September. I received a message from the North Face team manager. And essentially, at first I was like really shocked because I was like, are you serious? I was like, I've only done one race. Like, do you really think I have that potential, essentially? And I think she just like saw something and believed. And yeah, she kind of gave me like a year contract to like try to see what it was like to be a professional runner for 2022. And I think most contracts start with a year just to like get the athlete to like try out if they like being on that team and all that. And yeah, so I joined North Face in 2022, and I had great success in that year as well. I raced Broken Arrow that year. I won it, set the course record there. And then, Speedgoat got second, took a wrong turn, but still got second. Like, I was really proud of that. And then I think I did like Sonoma. So pretty much I won every race that I raced that year. I did get injured that year. I think I was just a little too excited with having entered this very exciting new world of trail running. So I ended up having to drop out of Worlds in Thailand that year. And I was set to run the long course in Thailand. So that's a bit of a bummer. And then 2023, basically to now, I've been with North Face ever since. And yeah, I feel like I'm just kind of like in this trajectory of like really excited with like where my career's going and where it's been. And yeah, like I said, sometimes it still feels like a dream that I'm like living this, because it's definitely not something that I had envisioned for myself. But I'm really happy with the surprise the universe threw at me, because it is like, I do feel like I'm living my dream, to be honest.
That's awesome. many of your races are in the marathon to 50K or 50-mile range. It seems like that's your strong suit. I'd love to understand more of the, like, do you struggle with the push to Western states and UTMB? Are you very satisfied playing in that 50K to 50-mile distance? How do you think about that?
I think I was very, very sad. Like, for the past 4 years, I've been doing marathon 50K distances, and I did two 50-milers. I did JFK and I did Templiers in France last year. And I'm actually going to debut my first 100K, hopefully at Black Canyon this coming season. And because I think, and it wasn't out of peer pressure from anyone. It was purely my own curiosity and excitement to like try a new challenge, and 4 years of 50Ks felt like enough. And like I had kind of in a way nailed down the distance and was very confident in racing that distance. And I think was ready to bump up and try this, like I told you, try this new challenge. And I feel mentally and physically ready for that. I think if you would have asked me a year ago if I was ready to do 100K, I'd probably say probably not. And so I think there is a pressure to do the 100K, the 100 milers, because, whether people agree with me or not, like I do think they are a bit more popular. I think people pay more attention to 100Ks and 100 milers. And I think for this past 4 years, I saw that, but I was still very satisfied with like where I was with the 50Ks and didn't feel the need to bump up quite yet. I'm also 29, so it's like I felt like I had a few years to try to figure out the 100K and 100 miler. And didn't want to push too soon, too much, because I think there's a big mental component to like 100Ks and 100 milers. And I didn't want to push that and potentially burn out by trying to do something out of what I felt I was ready for too soon.
I love that perspective. You said a word that I jump on every time somebody says it, so I'm going to jump on it. Okay. That word is curiosity. I find that people who explore curiosity or follow curiosity are able to be much more successful in whatever endeavor they're doing, because they define success in a way that is meaningful to them versus more of like a conventional, you won the race, you did the thing, it's a much more qualitative way to look at success, because by design, it's like, it's not, can I win? Or not by design, but more often than not, it's not, can I win? It's like, how good can I be? Or can I do the thing? Talking about your relationship with curiosity and if it's been that way or if this has been an evolution of your perspective.
Oh, I think it's always been that way. Like even when I first started trail running, without the competitions out of it, just me going out into the wilderness, into the mountains, it was for me like, how far can I go? Can I go to this peak? Can I connect these peaks? Like it was driven by like what's around the corner or like what's over that hill, like what is the vista look like?
It's like childlike.
Yes, very childlike. It was like I was high in adrenaline. Like, it was the most unstructured year of my life, 2020. But in a way, it was like what I think gave me this excitement and this like drive for my love of trail running, because it started out of a place of, wow, like I can do this. I can climb up that mountain. I can like, it's always been for me, like like you said, very like childlike play, of like, I felt so alive and so human and so just like back to my roots when I was like doing these long adventures in the wilderness. And, and doesn't mean that once I got more structured, with it and started competing, doesn't mean that like got taken away. I think in a way it just like reassured the confidence of like, okay, if you need to do a hard thing, you can. And that hard thing could be like, oh, completing a 50K or completing a 100K, and I think curiosity's always been driven my trail running journey, I think. And in a way it still does, like that curious of like, can I be good at 100K? Can I be good at 100 mile? Like, it's so deep rooted for me, because I think also it's just like, you're good at something and then you're like, I think you just wonder like, can I be good at that too? and it doesn't end there. I think it's always just like very self-focused and self-driven. Who cares about the chaos in the background, right? It's like, no, I'm doing this for me because I'm genuinely curious, and I don't want to end my career with like a what if. I want to end my career with like well, I tried, or like I did everything I could.
How do you take those ever evolving goalposts and so like it's less of a focus on a destination and more on that process of getting to the goalpost? And for some people, the ever evolving or ever moving further away goalposts, like that's a problem for them. But for people who are curious and exploring potential, like that's just a byproduct of the process. How do you look at it?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to love the process if you want to do trail running long term. Because, I think about 2020 when there were no races, right? Like the world shut down and athletes had to train to train. They didn't have that like goal race that they could train for because there was none. And I think I've saw both sides. I saw like professional runners get totally like burnt out, and like they just didn't want to train because they didn't have that like goal. They didn't have that like determined will to get out the door. And for me it's like I just learned that, especially with like having to drop out of Worlds this past year, it's like one thing I took out of that is you have to love the process, because sometimes you're just not going to get that climax. You're just not going to get that like beautiful, like butterfly firework ending that you maybe like used as motivation to like get through training. And I feel like after Worlds, it was like this big thing of like, oh yeah, you're right. Like I love the process. It's always been about the process for me and I think that's what makes me do well in racing, because I really truly believe that if you enjoy your training and you enjoy that process, like training is not going to be like the all end kind of thing. It's like, it's a celebration, and it's like popping the champagne bottle. And sometimes you won't get that, but you still have to love what you do. Right. And so like, even after Worlds, I was like, all right, well, I can't run right now because I have to let this hamstring heal. But like, I'm stoked to get back to training, because I just love being out there and I love moving through the woods and the trails. And it's like my way of like connecting to like who I am and what matters to me. So yeah, I think it's just like, I think the process is very, very important. And I think goals are very important too. But I think for longevity, like for the longevity of the sport, you have to love it. You have to love what you do.
How do you set that up on a weekly basis to like set up enough carrots dangling in front of your face to both, check the boxes on a daily basis, but also think more long term?
I mean, I have a coach, and I like to say I'm like the A+ athlete. Like I will literally do training to a T. Like I could be like, it's my downfall. It's like my greatest, but also my like weakness. Like, because it means if I'm sick, I will do the workout anyways and probably dig myself in a hole of fatigue. And so like a coach is always there to like, make those decisions for me and do that. So for me, like what dangles my carrot is like thinking about like how I can make future Jenn happy. How for me, it's like stacking those points of like confidence for like a race that I'm looking forward to, or someone I'm going to race at a competition that I like really want to like push or be pushed by them, or like, so I think it's just like finding little things that like really fire you up. And so for me, it's like, yeah, a goal or a race, for me could be also just like, oh, I've never done a training like this week, or like a workout that's like really hard that I've never done. Like that to me is kind of exciting. And, it's also just like making training fun for you. It doesn't like training doesn't have to be boring. You can do little things to make it a very exciting and very personalized. Like why would you do track work when you can just do speed on the road if you hate the track? So it's, so like doing little tweaks like that, where it's like, it doesn't have to be this like headbanger for you. you can tweak it in those ways. So yeah, I think for me, it's just like thinking about something that matters to me, whether it's like a future race, like competing, or like, just like, I don't know, thinking about how good can I get at this race, or like, can I PR in that race that I've done before? Like little things like that
For
fuel
me,
me.
it's often the like I want to be ready enough to say yes to adventure, and so like
Mm.
I want to be adventure ready. And there's like plenty of data on the best predictor of injury is the differential between your longest long run in the last month and any new longest long run. And so
Mm.
like I want to be in a place where I can safely say yes to a 4 hour adventure on 2.5 hours of training, or like if I've been doing 15-mile long runs or 20-mile long runs, I can go to 25, like whatever it is. Or like push a little extra hard. Like last week, I played around with high volume Tuesday through Friday and ran 45 miles over that period. And it was pushing it, like doing 40 miles between Tuesday through Thursday. But it was like a really fun way to experiment with training and experiment with like doing doubles 2 days in a row and then a longer single the third day. And you have to have a base to get there. And right now I'm not specifically training for a race, but I need those carrots to keep myself consistent and keep myself accountable. And so playing around with, and like I said yes to a friend to do a 17-mile long run in the mountains this weekend. And so it's just like,
Yeah.
but I've had the base and I've been able to, like, I can say yes to that without it being a dumb idea. And so I think the point I'm trying to make is like, think about what makes you happy as a runner and then work backwards to put the building blocks in place that enable that to be successful. And like for me, I want to say yes to any dumb thing that my friend Kevin says. Shout out to Kevin, the most frequent transgressor of suggesting dumb things. But like that, to me, that's fun. Like I love saying yes to these adventures, and you need to be in a place where you can safely say yes to stuff
Right.
like that.
It's like training for like life, what you love to
Exactly.
do, right, in life. Yeah, I have a friend, he moved from Montana to Denver. His name was Nate Bender. And we'd always see him do these crazy things on, the mountains around in Glacier and like Mount Sentinel, like all these in the Bob Wilderness. And when you asked him, like, what are you training for, Nate? He's just like, I'm training to do the things I love, like, just like, he wasn't, for him, he wasn't a competitor. Like, he just loved doing these like crazy adventures, and he trains so he can do them because that's like who he was. And, that's another way people can look at training. It's like, I'm training for life. I'm training to try to do the things that I can. Like if I'm on a road trip and I see this really cool, like mountain, I want to be able to like say yes in the spur of the moment. And I think that's beautiful too, right? Like some people are just not competitive and some people are just like very adventure driven, and that's okay too. And it's just like trying to find like your own version of like what success means to you, like you said earlier.
Yeah.
And in a way that was me before competitive running. It was just like, I just wanted to do these awesome routes in the Flathead where I lived. And that's like what mattered, like I didn't care about, a 5K PR, or I didn't care about like how fast can I run a mile right now. It was more like, can I actually do this route today? Or, or do this with my friends. So yeah, it's pretty awesome.
I think back to one of my like most epic adventures this year that's not a race, and unironically it was instigated by Kevin. Shout out to Kevin of the Distance to Empty podcast. We were going out for a run. It was the day of Leadville 100, and we stumbled into the fish hatchery parking lot and ran into Rachel and Trinken and her partner Kevin, her boyfriend Kevin. And we ended up doing a 6.5 hour run up Mount Massive. And it was like one of the most fulfilling days of running I've had. And just like such a fun conversation. And we spent 2 hours thinking we were never going to get back on trail. And then it started hailing. And, you're moving a mile an hour at 13,000 feet. And like you you have to have a base to do stuff like that. And having a base and then doing something like that is like, that's living. Like, to me, I was living on that day. And that's why I do it. Like, I live for adventures like that are like, I joke that I want to be able to say yes to things with 3 days notice. Like, this was like 10 minutes notice. Like, so yeah, we're going now. And to me, that's what it's all about. I'm not as competitive. I like to compete with myself. But again, it's like finding those sources of motivation. And so looking back at all the runs I did, like, you know, May through August enabled a day like that to be possible. And so when I'm struggling with motivation, I think of like how fucking awesome that day was, and how that day was only awesome because of all the bricks that were laid in the, 100 days and months and years leading up to it.
Yes, 100%. It reminds me of, like in 2021, my friends were doing their rim to rim to rim in the Grand Canyon. And I got so jealous, and I was like, guys, I want to come. And I never in a million years had ever done like a 49 miles?
42, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I died. I learned a lot about ultra running that day. But it was one of those things where it's just like, yeah, like being able to just like spur of the moment and do something like that. Like that day, like I was experiencing all the emotions that anyone could experience. I'm grateful for my partner, Nick. We stayed together. So that was like a big, very, very big challenge of like, is he going to break up with me? Because I'm
survived the day.
Yeah, hormonal and tired and hungry. So yeah, it was awesome. Yeah.
One of the things that contributes to a successful day like that is fueling properly. This podcast is sponsored by Tailwind. You are sponsored by Tailwind. We may even be airing this the week of Black Friday, where everything on Tailwind's site is 20% off. So you can go on there and check that out. But talk to me about the fueling component of these adventures that you're doing, and how did you get to a place where you've struggled with fueling and nutrition in the past, and now you have a partner in making it all possible, both literally and metaphorically, or financially and physiologically. Talk to me about that evolution as well.
Yeah, so I think it's just like trial and error, right? Like, and I think, my relationship with food has been like an ever evolving kind of, to try to get to a place where I felt normal again, quote unquote normal again. And I think anyone who goes through an eating disorder, in a way feels like they're always trying to battle with like food. And, I think it's been long enough. And I think I've intentionally every year since my recovery, have intentionally just been trying to like be as normal as possible and like try to think critically about food in like a sense of it's training too, A, and B, like my body needs it to do the things that I love. And so I think like, and especially in like 2022, when I dealt with like my first bone stress injury, which not fun. I think it was like really an eye-opening year for me as far as like, if I want to be long-term in this trail scene and in just like the pro level in general, like I need to really be serious about my fueling. And so I think that kind of kickstarted my passion for trying to figure out how to do it right. And, I think Tailwind came at a point where I'd left my previous nutrition sponsor, and I was looking for a product that was more on the natural side of fueling, because that's kind of always been my very hippie holistic view on food. It's like whole foods has been like what in a way saved my relationship with food. Is like, how do I get it to like as closest to the source as possible? So when I saw that like Tailwind made a product that was like cane sugar, like, things that felt more holistic and like whole food, it felt like it was the right fit. Like if I could, like before Tailwind, I would like go out and like race in like with like mango juice or like cranberry juice, like those like more natural things. And I think Tailwind when I first started, I was like, oh, like this is it. Like, and I've also been like one to, when training is really going well and I'm really putting in the miles, for me, it's easier to fuel through hydration. And I think gels in a way are really good, but it's so easy to get really tired of gels, really tired of the flavor. And I felt with like fluid, especially on like the summer days and like hot races, which most races happen in the summer anyways, like that's what I craved. I just craved fluid, and it was just easier for me to get the carbs and the like everything that I needed through fluid. And so I don't know, Tailwind kind of like was like the perfect match. And as far as like what I was looking for in one made sense to like who I am, and what I believe to be like good nutrition for my body. So I don't know, I'm really grateful for them. I was really stoked when they like reached out. And I don't know, I feel like they've been in sport for so long, and I don't know, I just feel honored. Like they have some of the best athletes on their roster, you know? So, yeah.
Shout out to Courtney.
Yes, shout out to Courtney. I love the watermelon sea salt. That was like the first Tailwind product where I was like, oh my God, like I could drink this for like all the time. Like it was just so good. And you know, even now, like it's okay to feel like you can reach out to people and to experts and draw from like your community and like figure out who can help you reach the next step. Because I do think we're in a point in trail running where fueling is the difference between 5 or 10 minutes faster in a race. Like I really do believe that.
Yeah.
And when you're neck to neck with like first and second or third, like that's huge. And so, yeah, I think I'm always just like, I'm always open-minded and willing to learn of ways that I could enhance my performance and or do it better. And I think it's okay to like admit that like as a 29-year-old, I don't have it figured out all the time. Like, and yeah, I think even this past year, it's like me trying to change and reach out to people, like, because I think you get to a point where you're just like, I know everything, right? Like I know what works for me, even if it means like you're sacrificing a little bit of your performance because you're like so stubborn about your own ways. And so I've been trying to be better about that and be like, okay, you want me to fuel on like a 90-minute run? Okay. Like to me, you know, for me, it's like 90 minutes. Like, I don't think I need to bring anything, but it's like, yeah, but it could help you recover for like the next day or like the whole week. And I'm just like, so like taking that with like what matters to me and just letting the experts do what they're expected to do and know how to do and just be like, okay, like you're right at this and I'll try it. So yeah, I think I'm always evolving in that sense.
Yeah, the inter-run fueling on even 90-minute runs, like this is a drum that I will bang on till the cows come home. That if you're running a substantial amount, fueling on even 75-minute runs, like I do workouts that are 80 minutes long, and I'll drink like a mix with carbohydrate and electrolytes and take a gel in the middle of it. So some Tailwind in the bottle and a gel alongside, and it's like 50, 60 grams of carbs, which is low for 90 minutes, but it's way more than nothing, which is what I was doing previously for workouts, because I'm doing 8 to 10 on Tuesday, workout on Wednesday, and then 8 to 10 on Thursday. And so to your point, like that inter-run fueling, even on a quote unquote shorter run, or not a long run, makes such a substantial difference in the grand scheme of things, and gives you a few more extra carbohydrates on board on a weekly basis that really facilitate that ability to adapt and tolerate the training. I heard a comment on the Swap podcast recently where David was talking about how someone said something along the lines of like, there's no such thing as overtraining, just under recovering and under fueling. And so in theory, you can tolerate tons of training if you can recover appropriately and if you can fuel appropriately. But most people like are stress limited or are not fueling enough to adapt to the training that they're doing. So then they get injured. Speaking of recovery, can we talk about the recovery mix though?
It's so good.
It's so good.
They like redid the recipe right before I signed. And so good. It was like the first thing I emailed them back. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so good. Yeah, I can't say enough great things about their recovery mix. I have like all the flavors with me. And I crave it. Like
Yeah, it's
yeah,
delicious.
it feels like a treat. It's
It
just
does
like,
feel like a treat.
yeah.
The move is to mix it with coffee, and it makes it even better. Like that the strawberry one or the chocolate one or even vanilla,
Wow.
like they're
Yeah,
delicious,
okay.
but you mix it with coffee and it's like delightful. Um,
Wow, okay.
but so for those who aren't familiar, it's a fava bean protein, so it's vegan and vegetarian friendly. 20 grams of protein, good amount of carbohydrates. But the piece that I like the most is it has 500 milligrams of sodium in it, and I'm an extremely salty sweater, and so the consolidation of like getting some sodium back in without without needing to think about it, home run,
You get all of it in.
all of it.
Protein, carbs, sodium, all of it. Yeah, it's so good. Yeah.
Uh,
I've actually never tried in coffee. I put in like yogurt.
yeah.
Like if you put the
Oh, interesting.
strawberry flavor in yogurt and you mix it, it tastes like you're eating strawberry cheesecake. Straight up. It's
Pro
so
tip.
good. Yeah. Pro tip. It's really good.
So you can go to the website and they only do one big sale a year, and it's this week, I think, Black Friday. And so you can get 20% off anything. You don't need a code. Go for it. Cool. Enough shameless plugs on on Tailwind.
It's so
But
good.
thank you for supporting Jenn and this episode of the podcast. So how do you think more broadly on the topic of sponsorship? You're working with a couple of brands. How do you think about the dynamic of like you're focused on competing, but are there components of like you need to be using social media or doing things at events? Like how do you think about the interaction of both performance and the storytelling around it?
Yeah, I think North Face in particular, like I've been really, really grateful. They don't really push too much as far as social media, or forced it on athletes. I know there's other brands that, that to them matters more, but, it's something that I haven't had to deal with as far as like trying to figure out how to like balance both. They I think more care about you posting in a more organic way and like a more you like that makes sense, because I think when you like post something and you're not really into it, like your audience can tell. Like they're like, she's doing this because she has to, not because she wants to. And I think that's the difference between like getting good engagement or not. And I really do think people care more about the authentic side of like what you're posting versus just like you being monotone and like kind of like straight face about
Something
promoting
boring.
something. Yeah. So I've been really grateful. I haven't really had to deal with that with North Face. And I think it's, with racing, it comes very easy. Like who doesn't love a race recap, or who doesn't love like, anything that race related, especially when a race went really well.
And you
So,
spend a lot of time at the top of the podium. So,
so
looking down on the top of people's heads.
So for me, it's the things that I post relating to North Face and to my life. Like, I think it's pretty organic because I try to make it pretty relatable and try to make it a very open book for the people that follow me, because to me, it matters more that I have a following that like truly cares as to what I'm doing versus a following that is only there because of, I don't know, me being like a promoter, only. So, and because I think to me, it's like, I like to separate, and I know this is a huge topic in like the trail running world, but like, I identify myself as an athlete and I want to be an athlete, and I think there's some people who want to be an influencer and like, that's their job. And so like, you will never see me posting something just purely out of like money making, essentially. Like that's not who I am. And I think I try to like partner with brands that understand that, and like, and it's also just like letting them know like, hey, this is not who I am. And like, I don't feel comfortable having to do this amount of posts per month or, per week, because it's just not authentic to me. And that's not the platform that I care about, or like, and that's not the following that I want. And so I think it's just being honest, and like, if the brand that you're potentially partnering with doesn't understand that, then it's probably not the brand for you. So yeah.
Can we talk about Kelly's role?
Yeah. Yeah, she's great. I
So
freaking
Kelly,
love her.
she's yes. Kelly Newland is your agent. I have an episode coming out with her right around the time that this is going live on Long Run Labs, which is a podcast I launched in June about the business of the outdoor industry. We talked for almost an hour and a half about the state of affairs as it relates to trail and ultra and sponsorships and media and athletes and all this stuff. I'm curious to hear more about like how your working relationship with Kelly, and why would a pro athlete sign with an agent, and why might they not want to?
I think, with the reason that I decided to hire and reach out to Kelly was, I got into a place in my career where I had a really hard time navigating the business and relationship side of being with a company. When you're in a company for 4 years, like I was with North Face, you get to know the people really well. And I think it becomes harder to just like make that line between like, like now we're talking business, and like, how do you take the feelings of the relationship out of it, And I think that was really, really hard for me. And I reached out to her, and I just straight up said, like, in my head, I was like, I don't know if she's going to see this. I don't know if she's going to, like, I don't know if I'm essentially good enough to have an agent, but all I know is that I'm looking for help. I'm looking to like have guidance in like navigating through contracts, because this year my contract with North Face is up. And so it's trying to figure out what I wanted to do for the next few years. And so, and I knew based on 2022, when I did that 1 year with North Face, and I did that by myself, it was so stressful, and it was just really hard for me to advocate for what I felt I needed, because I felt like, oh, now we're talking about my self-worth. I don't like talking about my self-worth. It's like, who does? And I think Kelly came in a perfect time because, the sport's growing, contracts are getting better. Like, I think companies are just trying to like put more support into like the athletes in trail running compared to like, because trail running compared to like even road still is so different. And it's getting better, but it is, I think Kelly was the first to like start making a change and start putting more pressure essentially on the companies and the athlete to like be better about that. With the athletes, like, be better about advocating for yourself. And then for the company, it's like, no, you have to support this athlete. If you want them to be at the top of the podium, they need this amount of support. And so, yeah, I think she came at a point where like I felt my career was taking off a bit, and I wanted someone who could navigate that relationship with North Face and with other brands. And so that I could just focus on training, that I can focus on racing well and doing the things that will help me succeed for that brand outside of that stressful, like, navigating through money and all that. So, no, she's been great. Like, we started working back in March, so it's been a whole year. And through that, we've gotten to know each other. And I think in a way it's been great, because before talking about contracts and before talking to brands, she got to know me as an athlete. She got to know me as a person, understood like my needs, what matters to me most in contract, and like what I need a company to do. And I think because of that, like, once negotiation season came, she was able to like truly filter through that and be like, this is a good fit. This is not a good fit. This is a great fit. Maybe not this. And even through things that I didn't know I needed, to be honest. And, so I don't know, she's like my trail mom. Like, I think she just is there emotionally, and just like, in a way, has such a mature point of view, because she is out of that. She's not the athlete trying to like perform and have like this appearance for like the world. And yeah, I think it's just made it really easy for me to like focus on what I'm doing and have a little bit more confidence in like advocating for like what I deserve.
I was at a panel last night hosted by Andy Wacker, meeting with Courtney Coppinger, Drew Hunter, and Eli Hemming, talking about this exact topic. By the time that this episode comes out, it'll be live on YouTube on the Long Run Labs YouTube channel for a much deeper dive on like the role of an agent, when to hire an agent, when not to hire an agent, like what do they do for athletes both on the track side and road and trail. But I think it's fascinating that we're getting to a point where the sport is professionalized enough that some portion of pro athletes can benefit from an agent. I've been seeing a ton more interest in non-endemics coming into the sport. And so I think the influence of non-running brands in bringing dollars in, like I just saw an announcement with Pioneer Pastures and Saucony at the Every Woman's Marathon in Savannah. And so like, here's a dairy company working with the shoe company at a marathon. And so like the influence of outside dollars is forcing the dollars that are endemic to the sport, so shoe brands, nutrition, etc., to take things more seriously and see that there is a real return on their investment. But at the end of the day, the shoe companies need to sell shoes, the milk companies need to sell milk, the watch companies need to sell watches. Like it's not all just about rah, let's have a good time on the trails. Like this is not philanthropy. It's capitalism.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there are drawbacks to that, of course. But it also enables people to do it professionally and enables media to do it professionally and enables a lot more eyeballs on the sport. And I think ultimately this like cyclone of activity and dollars and eyeballs that we're seeing coming into trail and road is leading to more people doing it. And ultimately that's the upside. And that's the really exciting part, that like people are getting more exposure to these epic places that we get to run, and they're like, maybe I can do this too. And so the net benefit is like creating health and creating more runners and building and expanding on the overall community.
I agree. And I think the more you support an athlete, like from like an athlete perspective, like the more big names that get into like trail running, the more I think attention it gets, the more people want to try it. And because the more people want to try it, the more people are going to need shoes, they're going to need gear. So it's like this domino effect, right? So then you have to like, you have to support the athletes that are like bringing attention to it, you know? And sometimes it feels like maybe we're not, but then like you post something and it blows up and people are really excited about it. And then you're like, oh, maybe I am like, maybe people are paying attention. So I don't know. I think I get where you're coming from with it too, though. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to be a part of it. Like, candidly, I bet my career on it and quit my job in June to say, like, this sport is growing enough that I can, do enough brand partnership deals and sell ads for 20 podcasts and do a little consulting also. Yeah. And I've been right so far that, like, there is that opportunity and that the space is growing and that brands want to do more in it, which, again, is a signal that more people are doing it. And ultimately, like that's the influence that I want all of us to have, which is I want us to show all of our friends who don't run that running is fun, running sucks, and it can be done in beautiful places.
Yes, 100%. 100. I feel like most people, and I don't know if this is like just me, but I swear a lot of people that I know who have been burnt out with running switch to trail, and it's like something just like lights up, and then they like fall in love all over again. And I think that is what's special about trail running. It's like, in a way, it saves a lot of people as far as like relationship and like body positivity. Like there's all these effects that trail running is so different than like road or track, and like, I feel like in road right now, like, and in the past has been this like narrative of like skinny, and then you see a trail runner and they're like eating sugar and Oreos, and it's like you like run up these mountains, you need it to run for like 19 hours, right? And it's like it's so different. And I think it's very refreshing for people who are like, oh, like, I want running to be joyful. I don't want it to be about diet. I don't want it to be about like losing pounds, you know? And so I think that's one of the beautiful things about trail running. It's like, that doesn't matter, you know? It's like, you see people and they're like celebrating at an aid station, you know? And it's like, I don't know, that's so beautiful to me. And I think is one of the reasons that like, I was drawn to trail running, you know, like when I saw it the first time, it was just like, oh my God, this is like a party in the woods. Like, that's what it feels like. Everyone's so happy, you know, and it's like, there's the elite front runners, and then there's like the rest of the field. And to them, it's like just finishing is like their goal, and they're having fun with it. Right. And I don't know. I think it's just so beautiful, the narrative of trail running, and like how it transcends to like the positive mindset of like running is supposed to be a joyful thing. Right. And a positive thing. And it doesn't have to be negative. And yeah, it sucks and it's painful sometimes, but then you can do it. You're not forcing yourself to do it. I love that about it.
Yeah. So half of this audience is would identify as road runners and half identifies as trail. I know that because I've done some surveys.
Okay.
So I don't want to poo-poo road running too much, but I have poo-pooed road running quite a lot as someone who's been obsessed with metrics and like gotten into that slippery slope of like chasing a 3-hour marathon, and like I don't have any value as a runner unless I can run sub 3. Like I've been there, and it's really tough. And getting onto the trails kind of revitalized my love for running. And at the same time, that was the breakthrough that enabled me to break 3 hours in the marathon. And so I have this like this dynamic between road and trail. Like I love running road. I love running fast. I love track workouts. I love the pounding of the feet on dirt roads, and the like running in lockstep with my friends. And like now we're working hard, and nobody said anything, but now we're gonna push. And it's just different. And I think that like in the summer I focus on trail, in the winter I do road, and like having for me that balance of both is really refreshing and enables the speed to stay and enables the strength to stay. But yeah, I do agree that the like dynamic around food and fueling is like leaps and bounds different in trail, particularly when you see people like, you know, eating everything in sight at aid stations. And that's like, you can't do well without doing that. And you can't, like, some people can take 3 gels for a marathon and get away with it because they're running fast enough, where they're not going to like bonk entirely. That's certainly not a recipe for success, but you simply can't do that in the ultra world because you're out there for too long. So like it exposes these problems or these limitations, either mental or physical, and forces us to like confront them, which I think is good and healthy, as long as you can do it in a manner that, you know, enables you to come out the other side and be stronger. But yeah, anyway, long ramble of my love for both.
Well, and I think it doesn't mean like, I think they, in a way, do help each other out. Like, I love road running. You know, that was like how I got into running in general. You know, I did cross country, I did track. I've done 1 marathon. I did a 10K last year in Salt Lake on the roads just because for fun, and I wanted to see how fast I can run.
Put your hand on the stove.
Yes, totally. You know, and it doesn't mean like one's better than the other. I think they're just very different. And I do think they like help each other out. You know, like my road speed helps my trail, and I think trail helps road. You know, like when you're climbing up a mountain, flat feels really easy. You know, and I don't think you have to choose. I think there's a beauty in doing both. And when people look at my training, they're like, oh yeah, Jenn's like very 50-50. I do a lot of road work because I do think speed and turnover is really important. Running downhill on trail, it's like, you need that. You need your body to know what 5-minute going down feels like, right? And so, you know, like, not to poo-poo on road running, you know, and that wasn't the goal, but I think it is so different. And I think just like, if you're bored of one thing, maybe try the other, and that could save your relationship with running. You know, it doesn't have to be a one way or the other. 100% agree with that. Yes.
I think it was like episode 3 or 4 or 5 of this podcast. I asked Devin Yanko, who's an absolute legend of the sport, I was like, this was 2019 and I was just getting into trail and I was still chasing the road marathon. And I was like, and she has range from like, she's run well between 5K and 100 miles. So I was like, how do you decide? And she's like, whatever's fun, just chase whatever's fun. And then when it's not fun, chase something else. So dialing it back 400 episodes to guidance from Devin Yanko, just chase what's fun.
That's it, man. I mean, Des Linden's doing that, right? She's like, I had fun with my marathon journey and now I'm going to try this like trail journey. So yeah, I think it is like what excites you at the moment, right? Like for me last year, it's like, I'm really excited to run this 10K and I ran that 10K and it was really fun. So it is like going back to that word, curiosity of like what drives you in training and what drives you in the sport. So.
Love it. Jenn, this has been a blast. Where can we find you on your corner of the internet?
I am on Instagram. I'm on Strava. I'm on Facebook, but I don't use it very often. It's changed so much. It's hard for me to really understand it.
Just good for Facebook Marketplace these days.
Getting old. I know. I do love Facebook Marketplace. I'm like very big on thrift stores and all that. And I'm into that. Yeah.
Cool. Love it. Well, appreciate the time and we'll see you out there.
All right. Thank you so much.
Of course.